After many years toiling in the catering business and in second-rate kitchens, the gregarious Gabrielle Hamilton opened a small bistro in New York called Prune. Initially, she intended to cook offals, innards, and low cuts for her neighbors in the East Village. Well, Prune bloomed. Its fans are legendary. One is the noted culinary curmudgeon Anthony Bourdain, who says Gab's memoir is the best ever, ever. Chef Gabrielle is also a stellar writer. Her new memoir is called Blood, Bones, and Butter. It is my pleasure to welcome Gabrielle Hamilton to Studio 4 to tell us more. Well, I can't wait to go to Prune.
Please come anytime.
And I saw you in an interview and you said, you know, Prune isn't all that snazzy. It's a little shabby. We serve some freaky food, but
all
it's
the
my
tables
restaurant.
wobble. Some of the china is chipped. Sometimes the silverware is tarnished, I'm afraid.
But how you found it, that's a good story. But we won't go there yet. Because let's start with you. You grew up with a bohemian-type dad. Not type dad, a bohemian father.
Yeah, he was a set designer for Broadway and theatrical shows and trade shows, and had a real artist, true artist sensibility.
Really?
Kind of lived life in a watercolor way.
So when Jesus Christ Superstar hit town, he did the set.
Indeed. In fact,
Really?
he did.
How great.
How funny.
How funny. And your mother was French.
And she was a ballet dancer and very disciplined. So their two characters together, maybe not so great for them, but in me, I've inherited both of their qualities.
So you grew up with a mom who hunted for mushrooms in the woods, did she, and looked for slugs?
She really encouraged us to be outdoors every day. We were not allowed television. It was kind of a disciplined, strict home like that, which I now appreciate very much. So yeah, we ate onion grass and mulberries off the bush and collected fiddlehead ferns in the woods. A real connection to nature.
And Dad threw fab, elaborate parties.
The best parties of all time. I mean, you should be jealous that you didn't get to come.
I am jealous because I love those parties with the lamb on the spit and the fun and all of that.
We built a huge fire with apple wood. All 5 of us kids slept out by the fire the night before while it burned down to make these big coals that are perfect for roasting the lamb slowly. We put the beer and the wine in the stream. We didn't even use one of those big coolers. We lit these candelaria, you know, these luminaria in paper bags.
Wow.
And had the candles out in the meadow all night. It was beautiful.
It's a movie, but the parental units didn't stay together.
Yeah, they ended.
They ended.
They had to go.
They had to go, and they left you a bit on your own.
It was slightly premature.
I
mean, I'm
think.
fine.
Well, you were like
worked out.
13 and they left you for the summer.
Yeah, whoops.
Whoops. So
it was fine. In the end, I really learned to cook in a way. I really learned to fend for myself. I'm not quite sure how a divorce happens and how you split up a household, but in our case, the pantry was left intact. And my mother had quite a pantry. So I got in there and was opening strange jars and cans of dark things and who knows what, and ended up making meals from them. And also, when I realized I needed money, I went into town and got a job doing the only thing I knew, which was washing dishes and clearing the table, because of course we had those chores as children, so it was very familiar to me. And also in our home, way before it was popular, we had a 2-bin stainless steel sink. My mother had a 6-burner Garland stove. So our home kitchen resembled a restaurant kitchen in a way.
Sure, but you had to do a little fibbing because you were a bit young to be working.
I think that's a white lie.
Well,
I just had to pretend to be a little older than I was.
And you did that when you hit New York too, as you grew up, I know.
Okay, I'm a big liar.
You're a big liar. But you've had such an amazing life, really. But your adventures, oh my, in New York, in Europe. You went to Europe nearly starved.
Yeah, when I moved to New York, I had to also get a job. I had very little money, and I happened into a club that was very popular at the time, and I lied about my age and got into quite a scrap there with some grand larceny and possession of stolen property, if you must know.
Great. No, I read it. And because it was like a Texas bar in New York.
Yeah, it was a country western.
Okay, Kinky Friedman didn't pay there, did he?
Kinky Friedman played all the time.
He's a friend of mine.
Oh my gosh.
No, Kinky Friedman.
I probably stole
Texas
some of his
Jew
money.
Boys. You probably did because
I might owe him $100.
You probably do. But you nearly got arrested.
I did, but my underage status got me, just slipped out of this scrape very nicely. But then I went to school and tried to get my act together and couldn't quite, I just was not, I couldn't get there. I wasn't sure what I was doing in life. And and still am not. But
well,
at the time
okay.
I thought, well, I'll just go away. And I went to Europe and took do you remember People Express? I took a one-way, $100 People Express flight to Belgium, and then I was gone for 2 years. I had a backpack. I had maybe $1,200 in traveler's checks. And I did that sort of backpacker's circuit. You pick oranges in Crete, and I made coffees in a cafe in Greece, and worked in a restaurant cleaning calamari and making Greek salads and washing the dishes. And I just made my way almost around the world, halfway around the world.
Sure, and met the odd Greek.
Met some amazing people who really taught me so much about hospitality from a recipient's point of view, because I was often bedraggled down to my last dollars in a place where no one knew where I was, and someone would just pick me up, feed me, offer me kindness and hospitality, and I really retained that.
Understood it. Well, I know one of your meals was like raw red onion, pumpkin seeds, and vermouth.
It was, right. I don't even know how that came to be, but some warm vermouth and some pumpkin seeds on a 5-day bus ride across, I don't know where, who knows where.
And you spent how many years in the catering business? Line cook, catering?
I shudder to think. I have a mongrel resume. I mean, really, it's motley.
It's motley, but all the weddings you did, my gosh, how many gazpacho shooters? Let me count.
Yeah, thousands and thousands. The industrial catering was, I mean, by nature, by the time you're cooking at that volume, we would have a party for 1,200 going out on the same day as a wedding for 600, as well as, I don't know, 1,400 people at the U.S. Open, or, you know, it was a huge corporate firm, and we did the best we could, but at that volume, you know, we have to do some kind of ugly things to the food.
I bet you do, because when we go to the tasting, the new bride, and you bring out the fresh food, that's one thing. When you actually get to the wedding, after it's been in the truck for 20 miles, what's happened to it?
Right. It's not bad advice for a bride and groom to inquire of the caterer how this meal, which they are tasting on a level for 2 people, is going to be produced later at the actual date for 300.
Exactly. So tell me how you found Prune, your now restaurant.
Or
First time.
How Prune found me,
Actually, Prune
maybe.
found you, that friend of yours.
Yeah, a neighbor on my block. Yeah, I did not have any intention of opening a restaurant, hence the subtitle, The Inadvertent Education of a Reluctant Chef. I really come to this industry reluctantly. But this building was on my block. I knew the guy vaguely who was showing it to me.
Right.
We walked in and it was putrid, frankly. It was covered, it had been shuttered for 2 years and left intact as if they'd done business right up until closing. So it had decaying and decomposing lamb carcasses and chicken bones in the refrigerators, and spent fossilized pucks of espresso in the espresso machine. There were living cockroaches, there was rat excreta all over the floor. It was truly repulsive, and yet
Something
I
in
could
you
see
said?
it had a charm.
You didn't do it right away, though. Didn't you go away before you?
No. Once I saw the place, I bluffed to the guy who was at. He said, "Are you interested?" And I said, maybe, no. But then I went home and it really gripped my imagination, and I called him back. I said, "Could I just take one more look?" And then here we are.
It's combustible. Somebody said to you, life is messy, get used to it.
Someone said to me, be careful what you get good at doing, because you'll be doing it for the rest of your life.
The rest of your life. So, Prune, once you got rid of the rats and some of the ne'er-do-wells in the back, we won't tell that story, it had a zinc, it still does. Is that the same bar, the zinc bar?
That's the restaurant. Oh, I miss it. I've been on book tour
Do
for a
you
couple
really?
of days. Yeah, I do. It's a home for me. I love it.
But tell me about the food. Let's go there.
Sure.
Monkfish liver. I didn't know monkfish. I guess all fish have livers. But monkfish
It is surprising.
liver?
Have you ever had it?
No, but I'd love to.
It is incomparable. It is like a foie gras of the sea.
Ooh.
And the restaurant is a low kind of restaurant. It's not a high-end fine dining restaurant, but the food is cooked very, not seriously like we take ourselves seriously, but we have cooking skills, and the food is ambitious in a certain way. So while it's not fine dining, I can't really afford foie gras and lobster and truffles. We don't have that kind of thing, but monkfish liver is an amazing, not even a compromise. I prefer it.
Really?
It's got sort of this perfect combination of earth and sea. It's livery, it's rich.
And what, how big is it?
You should see a monkfish liver. It's phenomenal. It can be sometimes 16 inches long.
Really?
Yeah, and it's, you know, the color of my flesh.
And you put capers over it or something?
Do
you doctor it up,
we
chef?
We do. It gets a little broil and some olive oil and some lemon juice and some warm buttered toast. And really, I could eat that breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
I'm sure you could. And I know that you don't deny yourself food. You don't, you're not a prissy food person in that you say, oh my gosh, that's got 10 calories or...
No, I'm very grateful to my mother for that. We were raised to only enjoy food. It's never been an enemy or a comfort. Those are phrases I don't understand. Guilty pleasures and comfort food. I'm like, I just don't, food is food. It's not a medicine, it's not a...
No, well, when you were the camp cook, and I read it in here, when you were the camp cook, you met this little girl named Emma at summer camp. And the way she talked about food, unlike the other kids, you knew she had food in her background or an appreciation for food.
There was something going on with her. I cherished her. All the children, I mean all children perhaps, eat nothing. You know, they like chicken nuggets and it has to be brown or beige and nothing on it. And these little girls, Emma was one of them, she used to come up to the pass. Could I please have the balsamic vinegar? And I would like some fresh ground black pepper, which could be obnoxious in a child, but it was not. It was very charming. And then we had Parents' Day, and this man came up to the pass and was watching what I was doing. We were making an elaborate meal that day for the parents. And he just spoke in a way, a kind of code that we in the industry speak to each other. It's not even code, you pick up all the signals that we're of the same tribe. And I finally said, who are you? He said, well, I'm Mark Bittman. I'm Emma's father.
Okay, one of the most famous chefs we know, certainly, and in New York. So take me back to Prune.
Yeah.
Who hangs there? What's the menu? I know, do you still have like the brown paper on the tables?
Yes, it's a pretty rustic place, so just brown paper on the tables, they wobble a little bit. I'm still trying to fix that problem. I think chefs eat at Prune, eaters eat at Prune, as opposed to foodies, although foodies come too. But I mean, people who aren't so fetishistic or fetishizing food, just people who really like to eat. For me, it's one of the most exciting parts of the restaurant to have this wide demographic also, that there are a lot of people in their 60s and 70s who come and eat this food, I would say authentically. So they'll say to me, oh, marrow bones. I grew up eating marrow bones. My mother, you know, made us eat that out of the soup pot. And right next to that couple will be some 25-year-old hipster couple who are eating it maybe ironically or macho eating attitude.
I can eat marrow, can you?
Yeah.
Yes. But you've been on the Martha Stewart show.
Sure, I've done a little TV.
A little TV, all of that, but you have no desire, or you have a desire to be a celebrity chef.
No.
Have your own TV show.
I don't love so much what that's doing to my people, our industry.
But
I mean, a TV would be great if it were about cooking, but for me, it seems to be a lot about competition and gimmick and shtick. So
are you still in the East Village, living in a little place in the East Village close to the restaurant?
In my hovel, I'm still...
In your hovel? I read you had a bit of a hovel. You're not in the penthouse.
Not yet. You know, we don't go into this business for the money, so in case anyone's thinking of opening a restaurant.
Okay, and you have a couple kids.
I have two boys, Marco and Leone.
And a very splashy Italian husband who maybe isn't in the picture anymore, or maybe is. You're still friends?
Oh, very much connected as parents. Yeah.
How great. Well, I read all of this in here. Bourdain, how'd you meet him?
He came to the restaurant 10 years ago and just took to it immediately.
I bet he did.
Yeah, he's become a good friend. I really appreciate that he's been there since the beginning. This is not, he didn't just discover Prune or stumble upon Gabrielle recently. He's really been there since we opened.
Well, and as you know, he'll eat anything, pretty much.
But he likes it when it's good.
Anything delicious, he sure does, and he sure knows. I thank you. This he's right. This is a great, great memoir because you have an MFA in writing. You're actually a writer.
There's some skill set. Thank you.
There's a big skill set there.
It's nice of you to say.
Hey, thank you. Gabrielle Hamilton and Blood, Bones, and Butter, a conversation with Gabrielle tonight at Barbara Joe's at 6 p.m. There might be a little food.
I think there is.
Maybe. Good, a little marrow. Tomorrow.